Welcome to the overview video Gain Collaboration Part 1. I have opened Gain Collaboration currently as an administrator. On the English interface we have the possibility to install language packages and switch the interface accordingly. English, Spanish, French and German are currently installed. But we also have the possibility to select and use Czech, Polish and Chinese language packages. This changes the interface accordingly. Meaning, if I select Diego here, he works with the Spanish interface. The functions up there are in Spanish. And for Jules, he has the French interface, and I am Jens Tonak, working with the English interface. As you can see, you can change the language of the interface as an administrator. And in the best case scenario, I can have the interface displayed in my native language. So, we continue with the interface, meaning how is the whole thing structured? I have a toolbar at the top, which contains my commands or part of the commands that I use daily. Here on the right side, I see a data dashboard or my document dashboard, which I can also use to perform a specific search. Then we have the result list here. My search results are displayed here. And here on the left side, we have the different filters for the different applications. Whether I search for AutoCAD, Inventor, SolidWorks, ZW3D or ZWCAD, or even Office documents, they'll all be listed here. If I go to ZW3D and I have a look just in the search mask, then I have corresponding filters, and it searches for the corresponding file extensions. Z3 files, Z3 ASM, Z3 part, Z3 DRW and so on. It lists everything that somehow has ZW3D included. I also cannot limit my search. In this case, I now see 426 documents listed, which are associated with ZW3D. Here are the components, there are the drawings, there are old Z3 files if I scroll down further. There is a CAM plan, these are assemblies and so on. I can tell from these symbols what kind of document this is. And I can, of course, also specifically say here on the page, that I only want to search drawings. Then only ZW3D drawings will be listed. You can see that here, in the search filter, ZW3D drawing. Meaning, it's only drawing documents that are listed here. And of course, I can also go here, and select my search much more specifically. For example, if I search for ADA and then click search, it lists up all the documents, all the ZW3D documents. Because the filter is set, the files with ADA show up with this description or in the name one. There is the adapter plate, there is the adapter. And now all documents having something to do with ADA will show up. Stars in front, and stars behind the name means there can be something written in front or behind. I could filter these records again which are listed here now. For example, if I'd now say, I want to go over the column filters and show me only those that have MP. Which all appear here and provides the possibility to filter for them. Meaning, now I find only the manufacturing parts. And this is the purpose of these column filters. Of course, I can also do a combined search. So if I say here, search MP, then I find only the MPs with ADA in the description. OK. Here on the left side we see, I'll switch for a moment, then we should see it a little clearer. Wait, let me check if we can see everything, there we go. That means, for example, here I have a document that has a yellow ball. A yellow ball means it's in progress, meaning in development. Then this one. A blue ball means there's a document in revision. This is currently being amended. This is a version of this file, for which there is already a newer one for example this one with index A. But it is not yet released. Released means a green tick. That's what we see here. This means the document has been released, so there is a green tick on it. So, I can see in the results list immediately, okay, is this a current document? Is it still in progress? Has it already been released or is it invalid? Here is another one with a red exclamation mark. That is invalid. I can see for certain in the results list right away. What is the status of this document? I'll take that away again. Just so that you can see, okay, these are released, these are invalid. Why are they invalid? From this record here, from the 949A, there is a more recent index. This is the B, and it has already been released. So much for the results list. In these results, I also have the option of looking at so-called neutral files, for example. We can see that here. Obviously, this is an extreme case. I have a DWG as a neutral file, a DXF file as a neutral file, and a PDF file. I open the PDF, which means that it is also created for me automatically. In my configuration, when I release a drawing, these neutral formats are automatically created. That means I don't have to do anything. As soon as I release a drawing, the file format I have set is automatically generated. As I said, in this case it was a DWG, DXF and a PDF file. Many customers only make a PDF file for drawings. But some also want DXF data. And so, I can set it up accordingly. For my 3D model, we can have a look. I have a step file here, for example, which is automatically created when the model is released. This allows my colleague from purchasing, for example, to access the GAIN collaboration. He can see that okay, I have to get quotations for this file or this component because it is manufactured externally. And then he can use the PDF file and the step file straight from the system for his inquiries, and send them to any suppliers. He doesn't have to bother me with it as a designer. Rather, as I said, the whole thing happens automatically. And we can be sure that these documents are always up to date because it happens automatically in the background via a so-called job server. Okay, so much for searching, for information on the individual documents, and so on. If I look at the file here again, we can see even more information. We can see the history, when was the drawing created? Who might have opened this data set again, who did the release? And so on. That all shows up here. I have references here at this point. The drawing accesses the component. That means the link between the component and the drawing, between the component and the assembly, between the assembly and the drawing, and so on, is automatically maintained here and is always visible, and the use is the same. That means the drawing has no further use. If I now go to the component, for example, then the component is used once in the drawing, but at another time also in another assembly, which I could now use to search again, find the data record, and so on. Why is all of this important? The whole thing is important when I make changes to any components, then I can immediately see what is affected by all this. That means I can see where these parts are installed, and I can then decide whether to make a change or create a copy of this component. So down here, I forgot to mention that, down here we have even more options for managing projects, managing classes or creating favorites, where I can say, okay, I'll put my favorites in there. So, I'm now looking for a specific component again, or rather for a term, PI for piston. And this piston, or piston assembly, as we see here, has corresponding references. This means that various components are built into this piston assembly, the piston itself, piston rings, circlips, the connecting rod, and so on and so forth. If I want to open this file now, then I simply double-click on it. and I see right away that all the components in there have already been released. That means I can open the file now. I am a normal user, so these files are only opened as read-only. That means I don't have write permission for these files. I can't take away the write permission either because they are all released, these parts. And accordingly, I can't change anything here. I cannot save the file or do anything else. If I go here now, I can click on it, but it's cut off. It is interrupted. I can't get to it. I also have my gain collaboration bar here in ZW3D itself. That means I can say OK, I want to connect to the server, who am I right now? Normally I can set that automatically. I always show that for demonstration purposes. That I am the user and can log in with the corresponding name. So, now there might be a drawing for this piston assembly. Then I can say show drawing and the drawing for this assembly is automatically loaded. I have just shown how this works with the links. I also have my parts list in here, and so on. This means that the individual components appear there and are positioned accordingly. I have my designation here, which also comes from the gain collaboration. That means if I go to my properties here, to the properties, then I find the corresponding designations here, and that is of course also information that I can include in the title block. And it's the same with the assembly. That is, if I have this assembly here, then I have the information about this assembly in here. If I now use this to try and load the piston, then it works the same way as we recognize from the normal ZW3D. So, I can do that through the normal interface. I see this here, I also see the designation here, and that this is a manufacturing part, this is my article number, which I have now freely assigned, and this is my designation. Okay, let's take a look. A so-called display name is now generated for me from this field, and this field, and this is also what we use in ZW3D to map this here. Because otherwise we would only have the file name as a criterion or as a recognition feature, if you like. And that might not help us too much at this point. There is the document number, which does appear now, but it is automatically generated for me, so I don't have any problems with uniqueness. And yes, that's how the whole thing is handled. Okay, I'm going out of the piston again, I'm in my assembly. And as I said, I can just close the assembly now because I didn't open it with write permission. The file is shared, that's not possible at this point.